Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, and it is time for a preview of the 2022 Australian Open men's semifinal between Daniil Medvedev and Stefanos Tsitsipas. As for the other semifinal, Rafael Nadal versus Matteo Berrettini, I have recorded a separate preview for that one, and it will be linked in the description and on the pinned comment. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Here's how these go. I will lay out keys to the match and discuss the paths to victory for both players, and then at the end of the video, I will reveal my prediction. It is already the 9th career meeting between Medvedev and Tsitsipas. Daniil Medvedev, of course, looking to come off of his U.S. Open title, and there has been no man in the Open era who has come back from winning their first major and then won the next major, which is a pretty surprising stat. Meanwhile, Stefanos Tsitsipas still seeks his coveted first major, and considering he came into this tournament with major questions about his elbow, I don't think anyone could have expected that he would have even gotten to this point. And I think he would be included in that, similar to Rafa Nadal in the other semifinal, who came in with injury concerns. Now, despite the fact that Medvedev has had a real handle on Tsitsipas on hard courts, other than at the 2019 ATP finals, Tsitsipas comes off a blistering victory over Jannik Sinner, and really he's played 5 incredible sets in a row. The last 2 sets against Taylor Fritz and all 3 sets against Jannik Sinner. While Daniil Medvedev comes off of 2 matches that seemed pretty mentally and physically taxing, one against Maxime Cressy, the serve volleyer, and then the last one against Felix Auger-Aliassime, which was one of the more impressive victories of Daniil Medvedev's career, not because of the level he had, but just how much heart, willpower, physical strength, and mental strength it took to come back from 2 sets to love down against a player who was playing as well as Felix Auger-Aliassime was. So that sets the stage for this semifinal. And let's jump into some of these tactical keys now. I think the short point battle will likely decide this one. I think there's going to be a lot of short points given the way these two serve. And the question is, for Tsitsipas, can he get past the first and second shot, the serve and the return? Because Medvedev is a better server than Tsitsipas, and he's a better returner than Tsitsipas. And on this court surface, which I think has been very fast, and there's been a lot of free points, that has mattered a lot. You know, Tsitsipas is coming off a matchup against Jannik Sinner, who doesn't serve big enough to really take advantage of the Stefanos Tsitsipas return. Taylor Fritz was the first big server that Tsitsipas faced, and indeed, Stefanos had a good amount of trouble breaking that Taylor Fritz serve, and Taylor was able to get plenty of free points and +1 opportunities off of that Tsitsipas return. On the other side of the coin, Tsitsipas hasn't faced a returner who is nearly as good as Daniil Medvedev. Again, this is not saying much, although I think Felix held up very nicely from a serve-return perspective. Daniil Medvedev, when it comes to the serve-return combination, no one's really going to have him beat, but Tsitsipas clearly loses in both here, whereas some players might be able to equal him in return, like maybe a Djokovic or a Nadal, or in the case of Berrettini, to round out our semifinalists, Berrettini would match him in serve. Tsitsipas, neither. So the key for Stefanos is to serve well enough and to return well enough where he's able to hold up at least hang in there in that initial serve return phase. Because if he's able to hold up in the serve return phase, he has a good chance to win the short points because, and this is something that I've covered in all of their previous meetings, Tsitsipas is more prolific on the first strike. He's got a better forehand, first of all, offensively. He's got a better forehand. He's doing a tremendous job of following that forehand into the net. And there's a big opportunity against Medvedev, because if you're able to take that first shot and you're able to hit it as an approach shot, Medvedev usually takes a couple of shots, a couple of neutralizations in order to actually get to neutral and fully recover his court position. If Medvedev doesn't hit a very deep return and Tsitsipas is able to hit approach shots on that first ball, Medvedev will likely not be in a great position to make the pass. And that is what Tsitsipas has done so well. So much serve plus approach. So Tsitsipas is better on the first strike. Defensively, on Medvedev's serve, Tsitsipas has the speed to disrupt Medvedev's early aggression. Daniil Medvedev is not as good in his transition game, and his forehand isn't as big. He's not as comfortable generating pace. So how much can Tsitsipas's speed be a factor here if he can get returns in play? I think quite a bit, but that if is the key there. If Tsitsipas uses his slice defense well, he can really bother Medvedev. I do think it helps Daniil that this match is being played during the day. Livelier. I do think it helps Tsitsipas that this match is being played at night. Slower conditions, making it a little bit harder for Daniil to hit through the court, which is something that FAA certainly was able to take advantage of, especially before the roof closed. And I don't know if it was because of the roof or if it was unrelated to the roof, but Medvedev started hitting through the court much better after the roof closed, which also happened to be the end of the match. Again, it's not clear what caused that, but it could have been the roof. In their last meeting, one more point. I do think Medvedev offensively is going to target that Tsitsipas backhand. And let's see what the backhand defense looks like, because it is at times shaky. So definitely a target for Medvedev on his forehand especially. I don't think he'll attack cross court much at all. I think he'll attack to the ad side. He'll hit a lot of forehands down the line. He'll hit a lot of forehands inside out. And he will make Tsitsipas come up with backhands to stay in the rally. It's it's how to get more errors, and also usually even if Tsitsipas is able to get the ball back, it's almost never as heavy as his running forehand, which even in defensive positions is just an unbelievable shot that Tsitsipas usually gets a lot of heaviness on, regardless of what his position is. Just a note before we move on from this, Medvedev won 88% of his first serve points in last year's meeting in Melbourne. So Tsitsipas is going to have to do significantly better than that. As far as rallies go, Medvedev is going to be very tactically focused, much more so than a Jannik Sinner. He's very good at playing his forehand down the line without accepting risk. So it's unlikely that Medvedev is going to be playing multiple forehands cross-court, giving Tsitsipas time to use his forehand, which is a bigger weapon than Medvedev's forehand, to use that cross-court advantage and turn that into a winning strategy. Medvedev won't let that happen. It'd be very surprising if he hits his forehand cross-court 2-3 times in a row, or even over 60% of the time. He will time that ball down the line, and he will pattern change down the line all the time to get that ball to the Tsitsipas backhand. As far as when the ball is on the Medvedev backhand instead of the forehand, well, he's very good at getting out of backhand jail. First of all, his backhand cross court is extremely precise, kind of like Taylor Fritz in the previous round. But I think the important thing is the precision cross court, getting to the Tsitsipas backhand, but also the down the line threat. And he knows he needs to maintain that down the line threat to keep Tsitsipas from camping out in that backhand corner and hitting inside out and inside in forehands. Medvedev knows these patterns. He has such good timing and good, feel for moving the ball around the court that when he plays a player like Tsitsipas, who has one side that's clearly weaker than the other, he's generally pretty darn good at finding it. I think it was interesting last year at this event when it comes to Tsitsipas's backhand, that his backhand was much better against Nadal's spin than Medvedev's flat, deep, penetrating ball. Tsitsipas protected his backhand tremendously well against Nadal. And then against Medvedev, he had a terrible, horrific backhand day. If you look at the backhand stats of last year's match, he barely hit a winner. He hit one. He hit one backhand ground stroke winner. Now I remember, and I was able to dig up my analysis of that. Didn't force a lot of errors. It was a nothing shot. It was a terrible backhand day, so he needs to do better. But, it's just an interesting note that we got that back-to-back, very, sharply contrasting balls, and Tsitsipas did so much better against Nadal's heavy topspin versus Medvedev's flat hitting. I do think one of the big differences between the last meeting and this meeting will be Tsitsipas's use of the slice. He's going to slice a lot because he has been slicing a lot. And what do players do against Medvedev? They slice even more. They know that they cannot trade backhands. They cannot trade topspin backhands with Medvedev. So Tsitsipas will slice a lot. And I still don't trust that shot. He's had some good slicing moments in the last couple matches. I just still don't trust it. But if he does it well, I will give him this. He'll capitalize. Because the slice is not a shot where Tsitsipas is going to get errors from Medvedev, but it is a shot where he'll get opportunities for runaround forehands, in my opinion. And look out for that pattern. Lastly, I think the questions about Tsitsipas's net prowess, I'm very interested to see. Guys, I'm just going to pause and say my nose right now is so itchy. I don't know what's going on, but I just keep having to scratch my nose. Okay. So I don't know if that's TMI or what, but yeah. Tsitsipas is going to come forward a lot in this match. I have no doubt about it. Look, Medvedev is amazing at making, first of all, getting to the approach shots and forcing difficult volleys. I love Tsitsipas as a volleyer. I think he's great as a volleyer. But I don't know if he's a good, difficult volleyer. I don't know how good he is below his knees. I don't know how great he is when he needs to hit drop volleys, which is, the volleys, those are the volleys that he'll need to hit against Medvedev so deep in the court. I think he's got very solid volleys, especially above net level. I think he sticks the volley very well, but he doesn't have the best hands, and I don't think he's great at making the difficult volleys. So that's not a tactical thing, because I think he needs to come in. That just comes down to execution, and that's a technical thing. I just wonder how efficient is Tsitsipas going to be on his net approaches. So that, plus the backhand, whether it be the backhand slice and just the drive backhand in general, those are my technical questions for Tsitsipas. It's tactics aside, will he execute on those things? And I'm not sure, but I'm leaning more towards that he'll have problems in those areas. Lastly, I'll talk about the energy. Look, Medvedev's young. He by all indications is extraordinarily fit. Is it possible that the fitness and the energy is a problem here? Yes, but it's so hard to predict. And how many times have we seen players come off of long, hard five-setters and they've just been fine with a day rest at majors? So often we see that they're just fine. And you know what? If Medvedev loses, I will continue to do what I always do. I will evaluate whether or not he looked tired. If he doesn't look tired, I'm not going to talk about the five-setter that he had in the previous match. If I don't see with my eyes that he looks tired, forget that, because a lot of the time it's just confirmation bias where people come off five-setters and then they have that as an excuse if they lose. But how often does it cause a loss in the next round? Look, I believe in progressive wear and tear and fatigue throughout a major, but It's very hard to predict. It's very often, I think, overrated as a factor. And I am going to assume that Daniil Medvedev is going to be fine. I think on a quick surface like this continues to be a bad matchup for Stefanos Tsitsipas. And my pick is Daniil Medvedev in 4. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.